The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
My God, could
Hello,
you imagine?
Everybody, and welcome to Wrestling to the Max's coverage of 205 Live for this week. I am Paul Leazar. The person talking over our intro was Harry Broadhurst.
I didn't know you had started the intro. My bad. Hi, everyone.
It's part of the fun when you get to run the soundboard and make people look silly.
You know what? Fine. Let's go ahead and discuss this since they heard most of our conversation anyway. Could you imagine Neville and Sami Zayn for the Cruiserweight title? How awesome would that be?
I mean, you go back and look at their match at NXT Revolution, which still might be the very best takeover special they've done to date. And, oh God, what a match that was. The build-up was really what made that special, too, but the match was incredible.
Even further back to their time together in Dragon Gate USA.
Yeah. I think they might have wrestled a couple times when he was still, well, never mind. He died, so we can't really talk about that.
No, he did not die. He is in Mexico helping the orphans. How dare you?
Didn't Kevin Owens say he died trying to save the orphans?
Nope. And if Kevin Owens did, Kevin Owens was fed bad information by that nefarious Kevin Steen.
Oh, that guy. Anyways, we're here to talk about the Cruiserweights. Obviously, I'm not Sean Garmer, who usually sits in this chair. He's over there previewing the NFL season opener with Gary and Eric over on Football to the Max, which you guys should totally check out. I'm sure they're having a great time, and they always do a wonderful job over on that show. We, of course, however, are brought to you by 411mania.com and Last Word on ProWrestling.com. Those guys put us up over there. They're wonderful. We're also everywhere else podcasts can be found. And with that out of the way, let's talk about some 205 Live here. Nigel, obviously, is taking over for Corey Gravesing as he's working SmackDown now. And this brings out Rich Swann, who shows up and grabs a chair and some popcorn and joins commentary to watch TJP and Ariya Davari have a Go ahead.
Joins commentary is kind of a stretch.
He was over there.
Eats popcorn while sitting on the announce table would be a much more accurate depiction.
He was over there. He joined commentary.
Okay. If you want to skate by on a technicality, sure.
I get by on technicalities here.
Get by with a little help from your technicalities, apparently.
It's true.
Damn true. All right, moving on.
He maybe enjoys. I don't know. I thought this was kind of okay. TJP takes on Ariya Davari. TJP ends up getting the win after Davari misses a frog splash and hits him with the detonation kick. It never really settled in for me, but after the match, Swann challenges TJP to a match next week, which is accepted. So,
you know what the problem with these two is?
What's that?
And by these two, I mean pronouns, pal. By these two, I mean T.J. Perkins and Ariya Davari.
Mm-hmm.
They are the exact reason that Enzo Amore is on 205 Live. Because these are two fantastic wrestlers who have the charisma efficiency of drying cement.
You're very, very spot on there.
Like T.J. Perkins is one of the best pure technical wrestlers on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
Ariya Davari is a very strong heel and actually manages to draw a little bit of heat, granted cheap, with his dedications to Iranian wrestlers. Unfortunately, neither of them translate that very well to their ring work.
Right. They're very much just out there doing what they usually do.
Like, there are ways to be technical and be entertaining at the same time. A perfect example of that to me is Drew Gulak.
Mm-hmm.
Gulak is a technical wrestler, but he's also an outright dick about it, too.
He's also I think he's very, very good at entertaining people inside the ring, too.
Not to mention, he has a much higher charisma value as well, as we'll talk about once we get to his match next. The problem with this match is it's not that it was a bad match or anything, because it wasn't. It was actually a fairly solid match. It's just nobody cared because neither of them have given the fans a reason to care.
That's very true, and I don't want to take away from the fact that is why they are where they are right now, but for me, this kind of got sloppy towards the end, and that really hurts when, like you said, you have two great wrestlers in there, and I don't know, they really need somebody to come in, like a manager or something like that, something with like what they were doing with Titus and Tozawa, just maybe more full time with the 205 Live brand, because TJP was great inside Catch Point over at Evolve, because he had God, I can't believe I'm blanking on his name.
Fred Yehi?
No, the manager.
Larry Dallas.
It wasn't Larry.
It wasn't. Chuck Taylor trademark.
Yes.
Stokely Hathaway.
Right. Who is a phenomenal manager, by the way. But he's just, Stokely's great at getting heat. He's great at promos. TJP is great at the other side, and when they work together, I thought it was a great recipe. So, if they ever do that, TJP or Davari could really work well, I think, with somebody to either play off of or have somebody just straight up do the promos for him and let TJP go out there and do what he does best, and that's just straight up wrestle.
Or turn him into and I know this isn't a name that gets said a lot these days, turn him into like a modern day Benoit. Let him do his talking between the ropes. Let him just go in there and murder people with his technical abilities. Because despite what you actually see with the Cruiserweight division, the argument could be made that TJ Perkins is one of the 5 best technical wrestlers on the roster, given all of the extensive trainings that he's had in the various disciplines that make up the world of professional wrestling.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that count. So, we'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully they really let him and Rich Swann go next week. I'm really excited to see what those guys can do if maybe they let some of the rules be a little bit relaxed somewhat. Because obviously I don't think we've quite yet gotten up to the caliber of wrestling people were expecting on a weekly basis with the show. But that is a discussion for another time, because it's time for Drew Gulak to come out. He's complaining about not being in the number 1 contenders match tonight, even though he's been campaigning for a better 205 Live, and even brings up a PowerPoint presentation he has for us to share his plans for a better 205 Live. He wants to eliminate jumping off the top rope. He doesn't want anybody jumping off the middle rope either. And before he can get to 3, Akira Tozawa arrives for their match. And I really enjoyed this one. This almost goes 7 minutes. Tozawa ends up getting the win with the big senton here to put Gulak away. But they really have a lot of great back and forth. And I kind of hope this turns into something more. And as me and Harry were discussing off before the show started, Drew Gulak even locks in the Chikara special. Absolutely wonderful. Because me and Harry both Chikara marks.
I can't help but feel like if Quack ever sees this, he'll smile to himself and I taught him that.
I did.
And not to mention, it works out in the fact that when Akira was in Chikara, he was a babyface, so he would know the counter to the Chikara special without having to get it from that dastardly Tim Donst.
Who says kayfabe is dead?
Damn right. As far as the match goes, though, I was very entertained by this. I thought these two worked really well together. This is the exact reason I think Drew Gulak needs to be higher on the 205 Live card, because whereas the first match was charisma-less, the charisma from both of these guys just jumps off the screen to me. Mm-hmm. As I mentioned earlier, Gulak is that perfect dick heel. Everything about him makes you want to see him get punched in the face repeatedly. And everything about Akira makes you want to see him punch somebody in the face repeatedly. So it works out perfectly. They have a great dynamic.
That's true. Honestly, Drew Gulak had me the moment he booted up that PowerPoint presentation. So
living that Microsoft Word life.
Absolutely.
Open office for show.
Enzo Amore's backstage. He's getting interviewed because he's in the main event tonight, and talks about how he's been working smarter, not harder. Makes fun of everybody in the match essentially, and says he's going to win the match tonight and the championship at No Mercy from Neville. Neville, of course, also shows up during this and says that he's got no business being here. And honest to God, by the end of this number 1 contenders match, I like Neville more than I like Enzo, because you have Cedric Alexander basically run roughshod in this, and everybody really gets a chance to shine, if you ask me. But Cedric absolutely is the star of this match. Goes almost 15 minutes.
Everybody not named Enzo gets a chance to shine in this match.
Well, yes.
And yet, when the bell rings, who's the one standing tall?
Enzo Amore, who ends up...
You know what the... Go ahead.
Enzo Amore ends up rolling up Cedric Alexander after Cedric rolls everybody else and eliminates them all with lumbar checks. Kendrick, however, decides to launch 5 feet into the air because he's a goddamn professional.
I can't breathe. Yeah, you would think that was Rob Van Dam taking a pile driver the way Kendrick got back up from that lumbar check.
Absolutely.
I can't breathe. Okay, give me a second here. I got to compose myself. That caught me out of nowhere.
And unbelievably manages to sneak back into the ring and roll up Cedric to win the #1 contendership and have himself a classic Enzo celebration, which the fans absolutely go wild for. Cedric, however, is perfect in the aftermath of this match, selling the fact that he can't believe he got rolled up like that, which I absolutely loved. And I mean, Enzo really comes off like a dick in all this, and Neville has a point. Like, he doesn't belong here, and maybe that's just the smark in me, but God, I want Neville to just beat the crap out of Enzo now.
Okay, Neville saying that Enzo doesn't belong on 205 Live is a case of you gotta love shoot comments that aren't meant to be shoot comments. Mm-hmm. The way that the match itself played out, and besides Kendrick being, as you put it, a goddamn professional, great line, by the way.
You're welcome.
Alexander steamrolling through everybody only to get cheaply rolled up by Enzo like he was, tells me that Cedric's going heel. And Cedric is going to beat Enzo's ass, and it is going to be fantastic when he does so.
You know, I mean, there's so... Well, I can't really say that. Because to me, there aren't a lot of big faces on 205 Live. Most of the guys that I feel like are high up on the card are heels. When you have Kendrick, who's basically holding down the gateway to the championship at this point. Neville, who, of course, is wonderful. And really... I think Drew Gulak also is a star on the show as well, and everybody else except for maybe Akira and you could argue maybe Rich Swann.
Jack Gallagher too, though.
Oh, of course, Jack Gallagher, of course. But Cedric to me feels like I like him as this really. He's basically a rugged face at this point. Like he's out here to prove that he can do all this stuff after the whole shenanigans he had that went way too long with Noam Dar and Alicia Fox, and on that threshold to challenge, I'd really like to see him do that.
Okay, even if he doesn't turn heel, he's still going to beat Enzo's ass for what happened tonight.
That I think you could get away with, because like I said, Cedric is more of a rugged face type of character, and Enzo is basically who everybody's behind right now at these live shows.
Well, not to mention the other thing you could do with that, too, is I think there is a significant portion of the WWE audience that is starting to turn against Enzo Amore as well, based on some of the crowd reactions he's gotten recently.
Yeah.
So I believe that you could do that and get away with it, and even maybe build this up to something like, even if Enzo were to steal the title off of Neville, you could definitely segue into a program between Enzo and Cedric.
I feel like that could happen. That could very much happen.
I mean, the smart fan in me doesn't want to see Enzo anywhere near this title because he'll hornswoggle out of it, but I could definitely see them going this way because they definitely have said that they want to inject some more personality into the division.
I agree with you on that point, because I could definitely see Enzo walking away with the championship for whatever reason they happen to come up with at No Mercy. No Mercy. So, just because Enzo is somebody that most of the crowd, like you said, I do think some people are turning on him as well. Enzo definitely could be that person to carry the division forward as a face for a while, to at least give Neville a break, because maybe they got gun-shy about Tozawa carrying the title, which is just silly if you ask me, but I don't know. They're kind of in a sticky situation, and I'd much rather see Cedric challenging than Enzo, but this is the story we're getting, and that's what they're going with.
I would argue that Tozawa and Neville had the best matches for the Cruiserweight title that we've had yet thus far. And that's taking nothing away from A-Double, who I absolutely love as an in-ring performer. I just think Tozawa's that much better than Aries as a worker.
He's also younger, too, which is a big boon. But I loved the Aries matches. I really enjoyed the Tozawa matches too, though.
So the entertainment value, I understand why they want to reach out to that audience, but at the same time, I think that you're running the risk of doing a disservice to the fans of the Cruiserweight division that have been around since the CWC, that have been here for the work rate of the division, not necessarily the characters.
Very, very true.
And
I think they're just trying to keep people in those chairs, though.
Yeah, and that's going to be the audience that turns against Enzo Amore, and maybe they're expecting that, and that's the reason they're booking Enzo the way they are, by having him use the tights and use the ropes and use all kinds of ways to get dirty finishes for his victories.
If they are, then a tip of the hat to whoever's booking 205 Live, because they're much smarter than whoever's booking the other two shows.
Clearly 205 Live is being booked by the NXT staff.
Clearly. But, Enzo's going to challenge Neville now for the Cruiserweight title at No Mercy is the big takeaway from this show. That's going to do it for this episode of 205 Live. You want to go ahead and plug anything before we move on out of here, Harry?
Yeah. Thanks to Paul's assistance with the pictures and the witty headline commentary, the newest written review for Wrestling Unwrapped is available on side of the W2M.net website, or W2Mnet.com website, and it's PWG's tremendous one. Easy for me to say. Jeez. Tongue-tied over here. PWG's Tremendous 1, 2006. Coming soon to the written reviews will be St. Valentine's Day Massacre 1999, and then a whole crap ton of WrestleManias. Also, check out W2Mnet.com's Robert Taylor, as he presents MMA to the max as well. Robert's a good friend of mine, and he's my co-host on The Reaction, so I got to plug his stuff too.
Plus, he does a great job on that show as well, so all the plugs for Robert are fine.
Back-to-back interviews with either current contracted UFC fighters or fighters on their way to UFC in episodes 7 and 8 for Robert. So more power to him, man. Doing big things early with the show.
Yeah, crushing it. Absolutely crushing it over there. So that's going to do it, though, for our 205 Live coverage. Myself, Harry, and Patrick are going to be on the Mae Young Classic stuff, which we're going to record right after this, and should be on all the places where our podcast can be found, like I mentioned at the top of this show. So once again, thank you, everybody, for listening, and have a good night.
Thanks for making me look like a jerk, Paul.
I'm here for you, buddy.
Sure you are. Good night, everyone.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.